And just take a notice of presence of each other in this healing community, and acknowledging each other, connecting with each other with this pure intention of healing, awakening ourselves, healing, awakening of each other, and healing, awakening of all sentient beings. And especially in this time, just noticing all the feeling. Inside of your body, inside of your heart, in your wholeness, beingness. So inviting you continuously being in this meditation space. You may close your eye while you're listening to these words. And these words came out of my mind, my heart during my meditation. Not just one session, probably last couple of weeks of intense experience as we all feeling your body, feeling your energy, feeling the presence of each other, feeling our unified purpose, and especially dedicating this session and our ongoing practice to the healing of war. So with that said, Sarah, you may start to share the letter.
During my meditation, I spent some time feeling into which priority I was called to face today. Among all that are in my heart and mind, there are many complexities within our lives, and we have choices about how we want to experience and focus on them. On my mind today, the war and its crisis, the continued pandemic and its uncertainty, the organization and business, the programs and commitment, the center and its ongoing construction, the writing and book, my wife and our love relationship, the children and their challenges, the projects and the bills, life, death, and self-realization. It seems like a lot for the mind to handle today and every day. When we look at the war from a distance, our typical response is to either go into problem-solving mode or take a stand of right versus wrong. And yes, in one dimension, we feel the deep desire to respond to the crisis, to take a stand, condemn the actions of war or pray for peace. Some of us are called to fight, protect, save, or protest. And others are called to ask, what is the deeper cause of war beyond the historic and present day stories? How can we learn from and go beyond crisis and conflict? What is the spiritual truth about war? War is an extreme expression of greed, fear, conflict, and tension. In fact, conflict and tension between energies. Higher wisdom suggests that our autopilot responses actually reinforce the pattern of war, crisis, and the patterns of conflict that have existed since the beginning of humanity. Most of us are stressed, challenged, and confused about what to do and how to help, with an underlying sense that there is a better approach. So let's take a look at what we do when we face conflict in tension. Typically, we judge, avoid, or go into fear in a fight, flight, or freeze loop. This is learned reactive behavior, and this is what we're witnessing now all around us and within us. Our usual responses continuously reinforce and even cause more war, perpetuating the patterns of fight, flight, freeze, both within others and within ourselves. No matter how we individually face war, the greatest conflict and tension in the world, we each feel it in our bodies. So some of us go to the war to fight the aggression. Some of us go to the location of the war to protect the victims. Some of us do what we can to save or relocate the victims. Some of us go to the streets to protest against the war. Some of us watch the news and participate in social media conversations. Some of us choose economic sanctions. Some of us donate money to humanitarian services. Some of us pray for peace. These are all good approaches, and taking action helps reduce and release the conflict and tension within and around the world. And yet you might be asking, what more can we do? How can we more effectively work with the conflict and tension within and between us? How can we release and transform it? What is the resolution or healing process for this old pattern? So back to my meditation from that morning, my resolution was coming back to my body in each moment to allow and consciously become aware of the feeling of life that is flowing within and through me, to experience its utter simplicity and truth, beyond right and wrong, should and shouldn't, good and bad. I felt an experience of pain and tension in my body, and at the same time, a place of rest for my mind in the presence of wholeness and beingness, in spite of problems, limitations, and conflict. My realization was that transcendence is not about avoidance, and transformation is not about perfection. That we actually move from pain to joy continuously. And in fact, there is an ongoing coexistence of pain and joy that completes the wholeness of life. Haola, all is well and getting better by choice. I stopped resisting and holding. and let myself feel the enormity of the collective conflict and tension of the world within my body. I stayed with it with the intention of relaxing into pure consciousness. It was not an easy choice nor process for obvious reasons, and yet I was able to do it. Actually, it wasn't about doing. It was about releasing and allowing. Unexpectedly, my body and being let go of control, even trying to control or direct the tension that was present. Reactivity was dissolving and being replaced by an overall feeling of a fresh energy, embracing all my body parts, all my body and all aspects of my being. I watched the energetic aspects of myself restructuring and re-knitting together. Tension and also the release of tension were present simultaneously. From this state of beingness, I could send blessing energy to the world, while internally experiencing less conflict, less constraint, and less story. Instead, a new sense of compassion with its own intelligence enveloped me. To my surprise, I began sending healing energy to President Putin, to his brain, his heart, and all organs. I couldn't help but imagine what could happen if thousands or millions of people send unconditional, loving, and healing energy to him right now. Even in spite of great conflicts, war, disease, disasters, and crisis, what might be possible if a tipping point of our population could return to the center of their being and set their hearts and minds to become the causes of healing body, soul, and spirit, to find different ways of releasing the tension of evolution rather than feeding the fires of rage and conflict. What if we could find a new way of life, honoring the deeper truth that conflict and tension within and around the world are natural expressions of creation, evolution, growth, and ultimately love? The greatest power of transformation is unconditional acceptance without judgment. As we transform our own internal conflict and tension, it results in physical, emotional, and spiritual healing personally and collectively. Then, as we apply new patterns of working with conflict beyond our own body and soul to the world around us, we not only heal ourselves, but our world. From this new place of wisdom and knowing, everything is interconnected. We see how this is the key to healing at every level. Through our own self-mastery, it is possible to share healing energy with others who are also experiencing inner conflict and tension, to the country, to the world, to the aggressors, the victims, and to the families and children. It is not only a possibility, but also a choice. It is a way to face and embrace the truth. From our old mindset perspective, it is difficult to accept the ultimate spiritual truth that tension and conflict is inevitable, and that our current historical patterns and repetitive cycles lead to the inevitable perpetuation of war, disease, and disaster. As we step into a new awakening of consciousness, we no longer see patterns of creation and impermanence as a threat to our existence, but understand the larger design of nature through time and space. With new awareness, we can face challenges from a new perspective and work with them from a place of empowerment rather than as a victim of fear in old reactive patterns. We realize we have choices individually and collectively to either contribute to the cause to whatever degree of war, disease, or disaster, or contribute to healing, transformation, and evolution as the struggles of nature bring about a new creation. How can we become the cause of healing of our own suffering and that of the world? There are 3 levels of healing. On the immediate and external levels, we can reduce the symptoms and degrees of suffering with tactics like sanctions, protests, humanitarian service, etc. On a more systemic and relational level, we can address immediate causes of conflict and suffering through peacemaking agreements, worldwide dialogue, conflict resolution, and cooperation. On the individual level, as we shift old patterns within ourselves, we inevitably affect those around us. And the response to pain can become the key to our innermost transformation. We address the ultimate cause of conflict and suffering within ourselves through practices of self-awareness, conscious choice, self-mastery, and self-realization. This is the journey of the soul's evolution. Through conflict, tension, and suffering, we learn and mature into greater dimensions of wisdom, coherence, understanding, joy, and inner peace. The push-pull of energetic tension and struggle offers us new possibilities for expanding our capacity for compassion, love, and healing. Energy has its own patterns and its own intelligence to find resolution and the next step of evolution. We are a part of this energy and evolution. we can be the healing cause of this evolution through our own conscious awareness and choice. May there be healing and peace in the world of war and suffering.